Have you ever wondered why the harder you chase something, the more it seems to slip out of your hands? It's like the blessing is playing a game of tag with you. You run faster, it runs further. You stay up late, grind harder, hustle longer, and still it feels just out of reach. That's because chasing comes from a place of fear. Fear says, if I don't go after it with everything I've got, I'll miss it. But here's the truth. What God has already assigned to you doesn't need to be chased. It needs to be received. The more you chase, the more you signal that you don't believe it's already yours. And God doesn't respond to fear, He responds to faith. Faith doesn't chase, faith attracts. Faith says, I know it's mine, so I can wait with confidence until it shows up. That's why He tells you to relax, because you can't chase down something that was already written with your name on it before you were born. See, somewhere along the line, people started believing that the only way to earn God's favor is to run themselves into the ground. They think if they sacrifice sleep, if they grind every second, if they wear their exhaustion like a badge of honor, then surely God will reward that level of suffering. But let me tell you something. God doesn't need your burnout to bless you. He doesn't need your panic to perform His promise. What He needs is your obedience, your consistency, your faith. Hard work is important, yes, but exhaustion is not a prerequisite for elevation. You can work with diligence and still rest with peace, because when God moves, He doesn't move because of how tired you are. He moves because of how aligned you are. The blessing is not the fruit of your exhaustion. It's the fruit of your expectation. When God says relax, He's not telling you to throw in the towel or sit back waiting for life to hand you everything. He's not telling you to stop showing up, stop building, stop preparing. No, what He's saying is release the desperation. Keep working, but stop worrying. Keep sowing, but stop stressing, because the problem is not in your action. The problem is in your anxiety. Desperation makes you cling to outcomes, and when you cling, you close your hands. But closed hands can't receive blessings. Relaxation in God means you still move forward. You still put in the effort, but you do it from a place of peace, not panic. You're not hustling to prove something. You're moving because you know the promise is already secured. That's the difference between grinding in fear and working in faith. Faith is not pacing the floor at night wondering if it's going to work out. Faith is not biting your nails waiting on a phone call. Faith is rest. Faith is sitting in the middle of uncertainty and still breathing easy because you know the outcome has already been decided. When you truly believe God's word, you don't have to keep checking to see if it's coming. You live like it's already here. That's why people who walk in faith carry a calm that others can't explain. They don't look rushed, they don't look frantic, because they understand something most folks miss. God's promise doesn't need their panic to be fulfilled. Faith is not energy spent in worry. It's energy stored in trust. And when you rest in that trust, you become unshakable, because you know the ground you're standing on was spoken into existence long before you ever stepped onto it. Think back over your life for just a moment. Really think the biggest breakthroughs you ever experienced. Did you engineer them step by step, or did some of them just show up? That job you weren't even fully qualified for, but somehow landed. That relationship that came into your life at the exact right time. That door that swung open, even though you didn't even have the right key. You didn't orchestrate that. God did. See, blessings are never manufactured by human hands. They are orchestrated by divine hands. We live in a culture that tells you it's all about grind, hustle, push, shove, make it happen. And yes, diligence matters, but let me give you the truth. The most important doors of your life will never be kicked open by your hustle. They'll be unlocked by God's timing. And when He opens a door, you don't have to knock it down. It will swing wide as if it had been waiting for you all along. That's what orchestration looks like. If you're honest, you've had moments where you worked harder than ever before and still came up empty. And then you've had moments where you simply showed up and favor met you there before you even said a word. That's not coincidence, that's orchestration. Coincidence is man's word for what God is doing behind the scenes when they can't explain it. Because while you're pacing the floor, trying to figure out how it's going to work, He's already aligning people, opportunities, and resources in ways you could never calculate. See, when you manufacture something, you have to sustain it. If you claw and scratch your way to a blessing outside of God's timing, you'll spend the rest of your life holding it together with fear, with worry, with compromise. But when God orchestrates it, He sustains it. When He builds it, you can rest in it. When He blesses it, no one can curse it. That's why you've got to stop trying to manipulate the blessing into existence. Because manipulation might get you something fast, but orchestration will get you something lasting. Let me give you an image. Think of a symphony orchestra. You've got violins, horns, drums, flutes. Everybody has their instrument. Alone, it can sound like noise, but when the conductor raises his hand and gives the signal, suddenly all the instruments align, and what was once noise becomes music. That's exactly how God works in your life. Alone, the events don't make sense. That rejection hurt. That delay made you cry. That missed opportunity stung. But from heaven's perspective, God is waving His hand like the conductor of an orchestra, saying, "Wait now, not yet, hold that note, okay, bring it in." And then, suddenly, what once felt like chaos in your life becomes a masterpiece that only He could arrange. You don't see all the conversations He's orchestrating about you in rooms you haven't entered yet. You don't see the people He's moving out of the way, the people He's preparing to cross your path, the resources He's setting aside with your name on them. All you see is the now. But God doesn't live in the now. He lives outside of time. He's arranging your past, your present, and your future like a master composer, making sure everything you need arrives at the exact right moment. And this is why you've got to relax, because the very thing you're trying to build in your own strength, He's already arranging for you in His. And trust me, His arrangement is better than your ambition. His plan is better than your pressure. What looks delayed to you is on schedule for Him. You think, why hasn't it happened yet? Why am I still waiting? But God is saying, if you saw what I was orchestrating, you would understand why I need you to wait. I'm not just building the blessing, I'm building you so you can handle it when it comes. Because let's be real, sometimes the delay isn't about the blessing not being ready. Sometimes the delay is about you not being ready. And God loves you too much to give you something that will break you. So He orchestrates not just the timing of the blessing, but the timing of your growth. He orchestrates the lessons, the challenges, the detours, so that by the time the blessing arrives, you're not just able to receive it, you're able to sustain it. Think of Joseph, sold into slavery by his own brothers, thrown in prison for a crime he didn't commit. If you looked at just one moment of his life, you'd think, this is chaos. But if you zoom out, you see the orchestration. Every betrayal, every pit, every prison cell was a stepping stone to the palace. Because while Joseph thought he was just surviving, God was orchestrating him into position to save a nation. That's orchestration, and that same orchestration is happening in your life right now. The closed doors, the unanswered prayers, the delays, they're not denials. They're the pauses between the notes of the symphony God is composing in your life. And when it's time for your part to rise, nothing and no one can hold it back. So hear me, stop trying to manufacture what God has already orchestrated. You don't have to beg, bribe, or break yourself down to make it happen. Your job is to stay faithful, to stay ready, to stay in position. Because when the music swells and it's your turn to step into the spotlight, you'll realize something powerful. It wasn't your hustle that got you there. It was His hand that carried you all along. What God has for you has your name on it, and nobody can take it. See, that's where most of our fear comes from. We look at other people winning, and we start to panic like somehow their success is stealing from our portion. But God doesn't work with leftovers. He's not dividing one pie into smaller slices. He's the God who bakes pies without limit. What's yours is yours, and nobody else can eat from your plate. You don't have to compete for it, you don't have to compare for it, and you sure don't have to compromise for it. Think about this. If somebody else got the promotion, that means it wasn't your promotion. If somebody else married the person you thought was the one, that wasn't your person. If the deal slipped through your fingers, it wasn't your deal, because what's truly yours can't slip. It can't be stolen, delayed maybe, but never denied. When God assigns something to you, it's marked, sealed, and stamped in heaven's records. The enemy can try to distract you, delay you, discourage you, but he can't disqualify you from what God has written in your story. That's why envy is such a waste of energy. When you envy, you're basically telling God you don't trust that He's got something custom made for you. But when you trust Him, you can celebrate other people's wins without feeling threatened, because you know your blessing is not in their lane, it's in yours. The fastest way to miss what God has for you is to keep staring at what He's doing for somebody else. So stop living like a thief is going to come and steal your promise. Stop living like God is going to forget your name. No, what He has for you is secured, and it's not fragile. If God already wrote it, if heaven already sealed it, then no boss, no person, no enemy, no setback can erase it. What's yours cannot be taken. It can only be prepared for you until the moment you're ready to receive it. Peace is not passive. Peace is powerful. Most people don't realize that peace itself is a magnet. See, when your heart is at rest, when your mind is steady, when your spirit is calm, you send out a signal that draws provision, opportunities, and people toward you. But when you're anxious, when you're restless, when you're desperate, you push things away. Think about it. Nobody wants to do business with somebody who looks panicked. Nobody wants to invest in someone who looks unstable. Even people can feel the difference between fear and faith. And if people can feel it, how much more can the spiritual realm sense it? Peace says, I trust God's timing. Anxiety says, if it doesn't happen now, I'm finished. One attracts, the other repels. It's not that peace makes you lazy, it's that peace makes you magnetic. Peace aligns you with the rhythm of heaven. When you move in peace, you make better decisions, you recognize opportunities faster, and you carry yourself with confidence that makes doors open on their own. Haven't you noticed that the times when you stopped worrying, stopped forcing, stopped stressing, suddenly things started working? That wasn't luck. That was alignment. That was the universe responding to the calm authority of a person who knows God is in control. Peace is not the absence of problems. It's the presence of perspective. And when you carry that perspective, you don't have to chase blessings, they start chasing you. So understand this. Peace is not just a feeling you get when life is easy. Peace is a strategy. Peace is a weapon. Peace is positioning. When you rest in peace, not the grave kind of rest, but the living kind, you broadcast to heaven and earth that you are ready, that you are stable, that you are prepared to handle the increase. And that posture of peace is irresistible to provision. That's why the enemy works so hard to steal your peace, because he knows the moment you lose it, you lose your magnet. But the moment you guard it, everything meant for you starts moving in your direction. God's timing is perfect, even when it doesn't match your calendar. See, we live in a microwave world. We want everything instantly. We want the blessing today, the breakthrough tomorrow, the success by next week. But God doesn't operate on your deadline. He operates on destiny's timeline. And the thing about destiny is this: it's never late, it's never rushed, it's never random. It's always right on time. You've got to understand something. Delay does not mean denial. Just because it hasn't happened yet doesn't mean it won't happen. It means the author of time is arranging details you can't see. When you think you're waiting, you're not really waiting. You're being positioned. You're being refined. You're being developed so that when the blessing shows up, you're not just able to touch it, but you're able to keep it. Think about Abraham. God told him he would be the father of many nations, but he had to wait decades before Isaac was born. To Abraham, that felt long. To Sarah, it felt impossible. But to God, it was perfect timing, because the promise wasn't about speed, it was about seed. And a seed planted too early can't grow, but a seed planted at the right time produces a harvest that changes generations. Or look at Jesus and Lazarus. When Mary and Martha sent word that their brother was sick, Jesus didn't run to heal him. He waited, and by the time he showed up, Lazarus was dead. From their perspective, he was late. From his perspective, he was right on time. Because he didn't come to perform a healing, he came to perform a resurrection. What looked like delay was actually divine setup. That's why you can't afford to rush God. If you rush him, you'll step into something you're not ready to handle. If you rush him, you'll grab a counterfeit thinking it's the real thing. But when you wait on his timing, you don't just get the blessing. You get it in a way that leaves no doubt that it was God who delivered it. And that changes everything, because when he does it, he gets the glory, and you get the peace of knowing it's secure. So, don't despise the waiting season, don't curse the delay, don't think silence means absence. Every second of waiting is God's way of saying, I'm preparing something bigger than what you asked for. And when the time comes, it won't just feel right. It will be undeniable. Because he's not bound by clocks or calendars. He's bound by his word, and his word cannot fail. You don't have to beg God for what he already promised. Begging makes it seem like he's holding something back, like he's reluctant, like he needs convincing. But the God who spoke the universe into existence doesn't need your persuasion. He needs your participation. When he declares a thing, it's already settled in heaven. Your job is not to cry out in desperation, Lord, please, 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 as if he forgot. Your job is to align your faith, your actions, and your mindset with the reality that the promise is already yours. Think about it. When you order something online and you get a confirmation email, you don't beg Amazon to send it. You don't pace the floor, calling the warehouse every day. You rest because you know it's already on the way. You might not know the exact hour it will show up, but you trust the process because you got the receipt. God's word is your receipt. His promise is your confirmation. The moment He spoke it, it was paid for, packed, and shipped. Now all you've got to do is position yourself to receive delivery. But what happens? Instead of waiting with expectation, most of us beg with fear. And fear makes you look at the clock, panic at the delay, and doubt the package is even coming. Yet the package isn't lost, it's just in transit. Heaven doesn't operate on your tracking number. It operates on God's schedule. And when the time is right, the delivery will show up at your door with your name on it. That's why Jesus said, when you pray, believe that you have received it and it will be yours. Not believe that maybe, if you beg hard enough, He might consider it. No, believe it's already done. Because begging comes from insecurity, but faith comes from inheritance. Children don't beg their father for food at the table. They sit down knowing it's theirs. And you are not a beggar in the kingdom. You are a child of the King. So shift your prayers, stop pleading like you're unworthy, and start thanking like you've already got it. Start moving like it's already yours. Start walking like the door is already open. Gratitude is the language of faith, and gratitude puts you in alignment to receive what's been waiting on you. Because the moment you stop begging and start believing, you'll realize the promise wasn't being withheld. It was being prepared. Everything you're chasing is already chasing you. The dream, the opportunity, the relationship, the provision, it's not hiding, it's moving toward you. But here's the key. It can't find you if you're out of position. That's why God keeps telling you to relax. Because when you're frantic, when you're restless, when you're all over the place, you're not standing still long enough for the blessing to locate you. Alignment is what makes the connection. When your heart, your actions, and your faith line up, the things you've been praying for show up like they've been looking for you all along. Think of it like this. If you're tuned to the wrong radio frequency, it doesn't matter how loud the station is broadcasting. You'll never hear the music. The music isn't absent. You're just misaligned. And a lot of people live their whole lives out of tune, wondering why they can't hear the song of their destiny. But the moment you align with God's frequency, peace, faith, trust, you discover the blessing was broadcasting the whole time. You just needed to tune in. You don't have to chase what's chasing you. That's why Jesus said, "Seek first the kingdom, and all these things will be added unto you." Notice, He didn't say you will add them. He said they will be added. That means they are in motion, looking for the person who is properly aligned. When you prioritize Him, the blessing prioritizes you. When you put Him first, provision puts you first. And here's the beautiful part. The blessing is smarter than you. It knows your address. It knows your schedule. It knows when you'll be ready, even if you don't. That's why some things didn't come when you thought they would, because the blessing knew you weren't ready to carry it. But the moment you grow, the moment you align, the moment you relax into trust, suddenly what you were chasing begins chasing you, overtaking you, overflowing you. So stop running like you're behind. Stop acting like you're missing out. What's yours is not running away. It's running toward you. And the proof of faith is not how fast you can run after it, but how steady you can stand while it comes directly into your hands. Because when you're aligned with God, everything meant for you will find you, without fail, without force, without fear. So here's the truth. You don't have to force it. You don't have to chase it. You don't have to beg for it. What God spoke over your life is already written, already sealed, already on its way. Your only job is to trust Him enough to relax, to breathe, to walk in peace, and to stay in position. Because when you rest in faith instead of wrestling in fear, you finally see what he's been saying all along. Everything you're seeking is already seeking you. And when his timing collides with your trust, the blessing will show up so powerfully, so unmistakably, that all you'll be able to say is, "Only God could have done this."